really saying I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world, wonderful world.
D'accord.
Bem até agora.
The colors of a rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what wonderful, wonderful, wonderful world.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I hope we all can hear me. Yes, I can see in the chat already. Good morning. It's another time to be here. It's another great time to have educators surround and join us for another of our free quarterly training. Um, I would just like to, beg your indulgence. We had quite a lot of people who registered, and I want to believe that we would be way much more than this who would join. So if you do not mind, can you maybe spare us 3 to 5 minutes so we can get more people join on, and then we can begin the meeting. Also, if you have people who are struggling to join via Zoom, we have YouTube is also streaming live on YouTube currently. So the YouTube link or the live stream link would be posted in the chat chat box in the chat section. So you can maybe copy it and send to your colleagues or friends who want to join but seem to be having issues with connecting with Zoom and all of that. So it will be great for them to also join on YouTube. So please just give us 3 to 5 minutes and we'll kick off. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone once again for joining. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bayomi.
Thank you, Mark.
Are we really happy here with this lonely game we play? Looking for words to say, searching but not finding understanding anywhere. We're lost in a man's masquerade.
I hope so.
Both afraid to say we're just too far away from being close together from the start. We tried to talk it over, but the words got in the way. We're lost inside this lonely game we play. Hearts of weeping disappear every time I see your eyes. No matter how hard I try to understand the reasons that we carry on this way. We're lost in a man's parade. Whoa. Mm-hmm. Do, 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 do. We're both afraid to say we're just too far away from being close together from the start. We tried to talk it over, but the words got in the way. We're lost inside this lonely game we play. Thoughts of weeping disappear every time I see your face. No matter how hard I try to understand the reasons why we carry on this way. We're lost in a masquerade. Whoa, in a masquerade. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. We're sorry about the slight delay. The facilitator has been locked out of the meeting. Please give us a few more minutes. We'll sort it out. Thank you very much.
About it, but I can't find it. I don't know if it's saved or not. Okay. 1 minute, please. Let me log out of this Zoom thing.
Which one? Which of them? So is it playing now? Meetings are always more than 100 now. I can't even know. Yes. I know that he didn't ask me. He didn't ask me. He knows our thoughts are always. Okay, so if he does it, because the meeting is on already, does he automatically oh, no, he should ask you to be in the waiting room right now so I can accept you. Deactivate edits now.
Oladu.
I stopped all active timers. Good morning again, everyone. I want to really apologize for keeping and taking so much time. We've had just a little bit of each, and we're trying to sort that out. I apologize thoroughly. I'm so sorry about that. We're trying to upgrade our link so we can get in more people to join. However, if you cannot join, the YouTube is on and streaming, so you can join in, you can join through there, and you can also participate from there. So we have that up and running, so please bear with us.
Mr.
I'm sure
Ajelade.
we'll change this very soon.
Mr.
Hello, ma.
Ajelade.
Yes,
I
please,
can
ma'am.
see that we've exceeded 100 right now as you speak.
This has been resolved.
Okay, that's been resolved. Okay,
That's
so
been
people
resolved.
can
Okay,
join in
thank
now.
you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cooper. So
Thank you
sorry.
so much, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cooper. Yay. So yes, people can join in now and we can kick off. So sorry. I apologize once again for that. I'm really sorry. Just needed to sort that out so we can get in more people. Thank you so much. Even our facilitator wasn't logged in. We are so sorry about that. Yes, we are up and running right now. Yeah, so good. Thank you once again for joining. We are going to be very fast right now because we've taken a lot of your time. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Kende Nwani, the MD CEO of Meadowhall Group and the Executive Director and Co-founder of the Transformational Teachers Network. She has been absolutely amazing. And if you're in the chat box, you've had experience with Dr. Nwani at any point in time, I'm sure you would understand what I mean. She has this unbelievable passion. I would like to beg people's indulgence. Can you please mute? Please, if you can you please mute your video, your so you can just engage in the chat box if that's fine. If that's fine, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Okay. Yes. So okay, yeah, we've hit this. Yeah. So I was talking about Dr. Kende Wani and passion for educators. She's very passionate and wants to see teachers and educators, accorded the same respect that we accord to, for instance, an engineer, a doctor, and professionals like that. And so she makes sure that she calls teachers professionals, right? She's big on that, and all appreciation to her, right? Mr. Kwanyo, if you can just hold on a bit, and we'll have a little introduction for you so people can know who is speaking, right? Thank you so much, everyone joining from. You can just put in the chat box where you are joining from quickly, so I can just quickly acknowledge you. Where are you joining from? If you can, if you can do that, just let's see where you are joining from. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Mr. Samuel, are you here? Okay, from Ikorodu, from Lagos. Yeah, Mowe, Ogun State. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Meadow Hall. I see Badon, Abuja. Thank you so much. I'm currently somewhere. Abuja, Ja. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Mr. Samuel, if you are here, I would like to pass the torch to you. Are you here? Mr. Kwanyam, you can please just stop sharing for now. Mr. Samuel, are you here? Alimosho, Lagos. Okay, you are. Okay, go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bayomi. Once again, welcome, everyone. See people joining from Lagos, from Abuja, all over. Somebody said precisely from Ojo. Correct. Thank you for joining. Thank you. But Before we continue and before we introduce our speaker for today, I would like to feel the pulse in the room. So on the chat box, just let us know um, what has been the most standout thing for you in terms of our previous conferences, especially the one that recently held. Did you attend? How was it? What's your biggest takeaway from that conference? That's the TTN conference, education conference that happened, sometime in May. So if you can drop that on the chat box, let's just hear from you. Let's know how the experience was. If you attended the conference, please let us know. We'd like to know how it was for you. What was your key takeaway? What was your someone said I've never attended any conference by TTN. We know that you will be attending one very soon. It happened on the 21st of April, to be precise, earlier in the month, earlier in the year rather. So if you were there, I would like to know how it was for you. Did anyone attend? I want to see from the chat box if you attended that conference. I'm reading. If you did attend that conference, just indicate, let us know what the key takeaway was for you. It was an amazing time in that conference. I know that we had people joining or coming in from different organizations, from different schools, different facilitators were around, and we looked at what education would look like in the year 2030. All right. While I am waiting to get to responses on that, today promises to be very exciting. We're going to be looking at the theme assessment for learning. And you can also, just in addition to that, what your expectation is from this session. You can just drop that in the chat box. What your expectation is, assessment for learning, right? What do you see yourself going home with at the end of this session? What's that key knowledge you would like to assess or gain, or skill you would like to gain, by the end of this um, workshop, this training? Okay, someone said this is my first time attending. That's beautiful. You're welcome. All right. Someone said teachers and educators learning from TTN is always awesome. Great facilitators. Thank you for that feedback. Amazing. Oh, great. So someone said I attended. Okay, that should be Deborah. My takeaway was I must keep getting better in teaching, abilities such as technology, okay, such that technology will not replace me in class. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, that was a conversation. It was really a wonderful panel session where we discussed what the future would look like, with the advent of AI, the coming in of AI and technology integrated into teaching and learning in the classroom. So yes, that was really, really amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so I see first time attending, amazing skills in writing. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so I'm guessing this person is saying skills in writing. Your key takeaway was to embrace technology. Thank you, Gloria, for that amazing feedback. Okay, Justin said my key takeaway was the need to embrace AI. Amazing. Embrace change and encourage learners to use them positively. Amazing, amazing. So those who are just attending for the first time, I'm sure you are getting this feedback and these comments, and I believe it's serving as an inspiration for you to keep attending our conferences, our trainings, our workshop. It's such an amazing time of learning. So please do ensure that whenever you see the prompts on the group, our invites, you actually respond by attending and of course by participating in all of our training sessions. Okay, someone said I look forward to gaining better assessment skills. I believe assessment should not be testing only the cognitive domain of learning. Amazing. I'm sure our facilitator is already listening and she's getting she's reading already to see what the expectations are. Someone said, my name is Mohammed. Oh, Mohammed, I've heard a lot about TTN, but I've never had the opportunity to attend any of the programs before. this session. For this session, I intend to learn different approaches towards assessment during my lessons. Amazing. And I'm sure your expectations will be met and surpassed. I'm very sure of that. I'm very sure of that. We have today an amazing facilitator. Our speaker is an amazing facilitator. I will be introducing her in the next 30 seconds. But let me see if there is any comment I would like to take from the chat. Okay, someone says, looking forward to being a better teacher, to acquire new knowledge. Okay, waiting to have a progressive learning skills of 21st century. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, TTN. Your expectation will not be cut short. And I think that's a very good way to end that feedback. But you can keep it coming on the chat box. We are watching, we are reading, we are taking notes. Okay, I'll take this one. Last one from Jonathan says, using assessment as a tool for positive learning outcome. Trust me, Jonathan, you are going to be excited today because our speaker today is an amazing, passionate educator with over 25 years of experience. She believes in every child's potential and advocates for teacher empowerment as a driver for educational change. As Director of Studies for the Junior School at Meadowhall, she has helped shape academic excellence, mentor staff, and promote a learner-centered approach, contributing to the school's steady growth. She holds a postgraduate diploma and a master's in education from the University of Nottingham. Miss Rita Ekpenyong, has led several teacher training workshops nationwide, focusing on pedagogy, instructional leadership, and classroom management. So, ladies and gentlemen, professionals, please, with your favorite emojis, with your chats, with your hands on the chat box, please join me make welcome our facilitator for today, Ms. Ekpenyong, as she takes us to class to learn about assessment for learning. All right, over to you,
Good
Ms.
morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Abayomi. I want to start by apologizing for the late start. We've had a number of technical issues on this side, apart from the fact that we needed to extend the capacity of Zoom for today's session. If you notice, I've had to change even devices as well. We've had to move locations, and even my own device froze, and that's why I couldn't stop sharing at the stage. So I'm using a colleague's laptop right now for this presentation. Thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate you all. Good morning once again, and a warm welcome to everyone. It's really a pleasure to have you here for today's training on assessment for learning. All right, so whether you're here to refresh your skills or to discover new strategies, so I just want you to know that today we're going to be exploring how assessment for learning can enhance engagement amongst our learners. How can it guide instruction by teachers? How can it also support continuous learning and ultimately improve student outcomes? I've heard a lot about what you all posted in the chat room, and I'm hoping that by the end of today's session, we will all leave having achieved what it is that we set out to, or what it was we set out to achieve. Thank you so much. All right, so this is a space for reflection, it's a space for collaboration, it's a space for professional development. So I want you to feel free to engage fully, because I'll be calling on you from time to time to give your feedback, to talk about certain aspects that we focus on. So, all right, now we're going to do a quick game, and I hope you're all ready. And it's titled, you can see the slide I have here, says AFL or not AFL. Now, AFL simply stands for Assessment for Learning. Assessment for Learning, AFL. So we'll be using the terminologies interchangeably at different points during this training. All right, so this is what is going to happen. I'm going to bring out a question, and all you have to do is go to the chat room very quickly, and all you have to do is to type yes or no, if it is as an aspect of assessment for learning. Okay? So the first one is coming up. Are you ready? Fastest fingers. Okay. All right. So the first question says, I only assess pupils at the end of the term. Is this assessment for learning? Is it, or it is not? If it is, just put yes in the chat room. And if it's not, put no. So I'll be checking. I'll be going to the chat room right now to check and see what the responses are. I see. Okay, I can see. Someone says no, no. Someone says yes. Someone says no, 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 no. A lot of no's. All right. So because of time, I see a few yeses here. I've seen like 3 of them. It'll be nice to know, but I only assess at the end of the term. Now, when you assess learners at the end of the term or at the end of a unit or at the end of a module or even at the end of it is called summative assessment and not assessment for learning. So we're going to learn more, like I said, we're going to explore what assessment for learning is all about. Thank you very much. My next question, get ready. I adjust my lesson halfway through because I noticed most pupils are confused. I adjust my lessons halfway through because I notice most pupils are confused. Will you say that's an aspect of assessment for learning? I see the yeses appear to have it. Yes, 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 all of that. And you are correct. Let's go on very quickly. I give pupils their test scores, but no comments. Very quickly, I give pupils their test scores. You've done numeracy, you've done mathematics. I score you 100%, but I have no comments to go with it. Answers, feedback, feedback, feedback. So I can see I'm checking here. Yes, 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 yes. Great job. Let's go on. I involve pupils in setting their success criteria. And for those who may be hearing about that word, for those terminology for the first time, we will learn more about it in the course of today's session. I involve pupils in setting their success criteria. Answers, yes again. I see no, 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 no. Lots of no's here. Okay. Oh, sorry. Actually, yes. It's mostly yes and a few no's. Well, the truth is, when you involve pupils in setting their success criteria, it's also a part of assessment for learning because the collaborative effort is the teacher and the learners working together, collaborating to move the learners' learning forward. All right. I give pupils the success criteria after they complete their work. I give pupils the success criteria after they complete their work. If someone says no, 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 beautiful, and you are correct. Let's go very quickly. During the lessons, I use mini whiteboards to check quick understanding, to check quickly for understanding before moving to the next point. Let me see. I see lots of yeses here, and that is very true because you're checking for understanding as the teacher during the process of teaching and learning. So assessment is going on. Well done. I give all students the same. Sorry, I can't do this. I give all students the same feedback regardless of their performance. I give them the same feedback regardless of their performance. What's the answer? What answers do I have there? Can you see? I see lots of no's, no's, no's. Beautiful. Well done. Great job. I regularly ask pupils to self-assess work using a checklist. So they self-assess themselves using a checklist. What would you call that? What would you call that? Is it assessment? Let me check the list again. Yes, yes, yes. I've seen a no there. All right. So in the course of today's session, we will find out more about what self-assessment is and the role it plays in assessment for learning. So we are clear that it is actually an aspect of assessment for learning. All right. After a test, I just move to the next topic because the syllabus must be covered. You ready to move on because the syllabus must be covered? All right. I see. No, no, no. Great job, all of you. Please put your hands together for yourselves. Well done, well done, well done. I'm proud of all of you, okay? So now we've gotten our minds over what's warmed up ourselves with the starter activity. It's time for us to delve now into more aspects of today's session. And I'll start by talking about by sharing our learning objectives. So by the end of today's module, participants should be able to define assessment for learning and describe at least 2 key purposes of assessment for learning in improving students' learning. Explain the core principles of assessment for learning. You should be able to implement formative assessment techniques in daily practice, we should go back from here feeling armed and ready and able to use assessment for learning practices in our different classes with our learners to move their learning forward. Use assessment information to inform planning and differentiation. All right, the next slide. Now here, I want you all to think about what's going on here. Teaching does not mean learning. All right, so I have a teacher there, and what does she do? Okay, she's talking. She says, I taught my basic 3 class how to solve simultaneous equations. All right, she's taught them, and she says she's taught her class how to solve simultaneous equations. And I'm sure all of us here as teachers have taught our children, our classes, how to solve one thing or the other. All right, now what does her colleague say to her? I have never seen them solving any equations. So what is going on here? She says she has taught them, but her colleague insists that he has never seen them solving any simultaneous equations. So what exactly is going on here? She goes and she says, I taught them. I said I taught them. I didn't say they learned it. So that's great food for thought. You taught them, but you didn't say you learned it. And so does that mean that sometimes we teach children in our classes and we end the lessons without them really learning what it was that we set out to achieve for that lesson? So learning isn't just about receiving information. It's an internal process that happens with students continually. So they're genuinely engaging and they begin to make sense of whatever it is that you're presenting to them. Now, our students need to they need to process this information that we're sharing with them in ways that they will understand. So it's not just about memorizing, it's about learning, it's more about understanding. Real learning really happens when our students can link new ideas to prior knowledge and experiences. And this makes their learning concrete. It makes the learning stick. They're able to recall, they're able to use it, they're able to apply it in different situations. Because they've understood, because they've engaged with it, they've internalized the aspects of it. So it shows that it affects the cognitive behavior, it brings about a cognitive change, brings about behavioral change in our learners if they are actually learning. And listen, learning is what the learner does, teaching is what we do, and it shows in their actions and in their behavior. All right, so let's think of this. So now that we know what learning is, I'd like us to look at assessment. We're talking about assessment for learning, but before we go into assessment for learning, we need to understand what assessment is. What is assessment? Because of time, I'm not going to ask you to share your thoughts now. I'm just going to. So assessment is that process of measuring progress in order to make a judgment about something or someone. How do you measure progress? How do you ensure that children have moved from here to here, or they're actually moving at all? It calls for reflection. To be able to reflect, there's usually a change in their behavior. If what's the essence, we plan wonderful lessons and it makes no sense to the children at the end of the day, or we are not able to achieve our goals. So assessment, like I said here, calls for reflection, is what comes to mind. Someone has put something, so acknowledge. Oh, good, sorry. To those who are on YouTube, good morning as well. Sorry, I did not acknowledge you at the beginning of this session. Thank you very much for joining in. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you all. I know most of you joined at the beginning because you couldn't log in because of the maximum capacity that we had hit at the time. Thank you very much. So I'll go back now to assessment. So assessment, like I said, before we go into assessment for learning, let's look at assessment. When you hear the word assessment, what comes to mind? It's not uncommon for many of us to think, oh, assessment has to do with tests, quizzes, exams. Yes, they're all forms of it, but assessment is so much more than that. It's more than just testing the children, giving them quiz, asking them. It's a process of measuring progress. You want to measure progress in order to make a judgment about something or someone. And for us as educators, that someone refers to our pupils, our learners. Now, this is something that we cannot achieve by guesswork. And that's why it involves collecting data. carefully collecting data, which will inform our it will guide the teacher on what to do next, on how to move the learner's learning forward based on what the learner knows at different points in time. All right, so I'll move to the next slide. Assessment should take place at every stage, and this is so key, teachers. Assessment should take place at every stage of the learning process. When assessment happens after, so when it happens before, that's diagnostic assessment. We want to know, what do the learners know? Because it's going to inform what you teach them at the end of the day. It's going to inform the provision you make for the different learners you have in your classroom. So take, for instance, there was this time we had to teach telling the time at minutes past the hour in year 2. And from asking questions at the, we realized that this particular child who knows the time at minutes past and minutes 2. So what did we do? That immediately informed what the steps. He was not reduced to doing what other people did or extending. And this is not the time for you to give them extended work. So it's like you bombard them, you load them with more work because they already know it. So if you're okay, I'm going to differentiate. So I'm going to give you more work. No, that is not it. You've got to deepen that child's understanding. Take that child to the next level. What should come next after doing that? So the child could actually convert now, even from analog, from 12-hour to 24-hour clock. The child could also do elapsed time. You can also bring in elapsed timing for the children at that time. So there are different things you can do. But do not limit that child to what you had planned for that day. And that is why observation is really key. That's why assessment for learning demands a lot from us as teachers. We've got to be observing. We've got to have seeing. I've got to have hearing ears. So we know what's happening. We understand where our learners are. And we know the best way or the next steps to provide to move their learning forward. Okay, so someone has a question for me. So I hope those on YouTube are following. I hope all of you on YouTube are following. Thank you very much. So now that we've had an idea of what assessment is, I think it's time for us to go straight to what assessment for learning is. So assessment for learning. Now this is a definition I hold really dear. It's by Dylan Williams, who's known to be an authority in the field of assessment for learning. So Dylan Williams says, assessment for learning is the process of seeking and interpreting evidence for use by learners. So taking number one, you seek for, the teachers seek for. You seek for, then you interpret the evidence for use by learners and their teachers to decide on where the learners are in their learning and where they need to go and how best they can get there. So you're gathering evidence on what they know. The process of seeking and interpreting evidence for use by learners and their teachers is to decide where your learners are in their learning. And then you want to know where they need to go and how best you can get them there. So seeking and interpreting evidence means that assessment is not just about tests and exams. It's about getting information in many ways. You can ask questions to see. You can use observations. You can use discussions, ideas, discussing ideas. You can use observing their work. Now, all of these things will give you ideas on where they are and where they need to go next. Now, the evidence is used by both the learners and the teachers. And that makes assessment for learning a shared process. Both the teachers and the learners make use of this evidence. Students actually engaged and as participants by reflecting on their own learning. And the teachers use the information to judge their teaching. So they gauge their own teaching. Okay, what do I do? From what I've seen, from the question I've asked the learners, this is what A can do, this is what B can do. What should my provision for B going forward? So by interpreting assessment for learning, it helps us decide on what we should do next as teachers, as practitioners. Thank you very much. I can see some people have defined assessment for learning here, and someone says here, is the reflection of what you've taught the learners. Beautiful. And someone says teaching brings learning. So when you teach, you're automatically teaching for learning to take place. Well done. That is if it is done the right way. So sometimes, I'm sure you all agree with me, you can teach, but children do not understand. And that is where assessment for learning comes in. Because assessment for learning is what bridges the gap between teaching and learning. It's that bridge that connects teaching to learning. Thank you very much. All right, so the purpose, what's the purpose of assessment for learning? Why? Identify gaps early to detect areas where students are struggling so it can provide the right support at the right time. You're not leaving it till the end of the lesson. It's ongoing. So in the course of teaching and learning, you're moving around the classroom. You're moving around, you're pacing around, you're listening to what children are saying in the discussions, you're checking what they're doing, you're assessing them in different ways, using different strategies, because you want to see you want to find out how close they are to where they're supposed to be or where they're supposed to get to at the end of the day. And that will guide you in knowing what strategies to put in place to bridge the gaps you have noticed. It guides teaching decisions because you're able to adapt your learning, you're able to adapt your activities and explanations based on what the learners need. You know where to tweak some things, you know where to change some things. And as teachers, we have to be able to do these things at the spur of the moment. It helps you give immediate feedback. Yes, because children need to know what they're doing wrongly. You can't have a child, for instance, even things as simple as handwriting. You've asked them to write and the child is not forming a particular letter properly. And you allow them to write a full page and then you put at the bottom, you didn't form F properly or do it again. Where were you when the child started line 1, went on to line 2, filled line 3, went to line 4, and then line 5? So we're supposed to monitor our learners. We're also observe them so we can give them immediate feedback that would move their learning forward. Because if that child had been corrected at the beginning of line 1 or even line 2, the child will be able to implement the correction, be able to redirect themselves and know, okay, this is how I should do. This is where I'm getting it wrong. What have I done wrongly? Oh, it's not, my letter is not sitting on the line. Oh, the descender is not going under the line. And then the child knows what to do and is able to correct himself or herself and move on in the right direction. Encourages students' reflection, yes, because it allows learners to think about their own understanding. So they know, and then they're able to progress. Because you're able to stop, you're able to nip it in the bud. You're able to address the situation, the error when it comes up. And that gets them to reflect on what they had in mind and to realize, okay, this is what I need to do differently if I'm going to move forward and make progress. And of course, it motivates and it engages the learners. Now, why do I mean motivating learners? We've also got to be careful as teachers how we give feedback to our learners. Because when a learner knows that you're concerned about them making progress, about the next steps in their learning, they're motivated to want to give more, to give their best. And like I said, it's also engaging because they know what to do differently. They swoop into it and they're ready to give their all just to make the required progress. It promotes active learning because everyone is actively engaged in the learning. They're using their minds, their brains, they're thinking, and they're working through the process. Discussing, questioning, self-assessment. All right, so now I'll go to the 5 key strategies for assessment for learning. When it comes to assessment for learning, there are 5 key strategies. And the first one here is sharing learning expectations. Now, all of these key strategies, we're going to discuss them in detail in the course of today's session. But I'm going to mention them to you now. So we get to them, you understand what they're all about. So we have sharing lesson learning expectations, eliciting evidence, feedback, self-assessment, and peer assessment. Let's make a note of that. Sharing learning expectations. What does that mean? Eliciting evidence, feedback, you're feeding back to the children feeding back to one another, self-assessment, and peer assessment. So when it comes to assessment for learning, my dear colleagues, there are 3 cogent questions that educators, as we as teachers, need to ask ourselves if we're going to implement this effectively. And the first one is, where is the learner going? The second is, where is the learner now? And the third is, how can the learner get there? So the first important question is, where is the learner going? We've got to keep asking this in the process of, in the teaching and learning process. Now, what is this about? Where is the learner going? It's simply about clarifying your learning goals, clarifying your learning intentions, clarifying your objectives. Gone are the days when we'll just, maybe in our time when teachers will just teach us all the objectives in our lesson plans. But how many of us remember, or how many of us tell the children, share these objectives with the children, and remember to refer to it in the course of teaching and learning? It is so key. Children need to know what they are learning, why they're learning it. But that's not just when they know that, it's going to help them stay focused, stay engaged, and take ownership of their learning. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, am I communicating clearly? Are you communicating the objectives clearly to learners? And the second one is, do learners understand what success will look like? So this is my objective. And for me, for my learners to have achieved this objective, for me to tick it off and say, yes, they can do this, there are certain things I expect of them. There are certain things they should be able to do. Someone says, kindly share the last slide again. All right, sorry, I'll just, that's it there. So you want to do a screenshot quickly so I can take it. So basically you're sharing the learning objectives. You also need to share the success criteria. The success criteria, the learning outcomes, also known as learning outcomes. Now, some schools will refer to learning objectives as WALT. We are learning to. While others, and that's the objective, what the teacher is introducing to the children, what the child wants the children to know at the end of the day's lesson. And then and then the success criteria, some introduce using the acronym WILF, WILF, and that stands for what I'm looking for. And that's what I, as the teacher, am looking for. Not what the teacher is looking for in the learning. So I want to see children who will complete these simple steps, these 3 steps that will lead them to have achieved the objective. So it's just like a roadmap. Or it's like a roadmap that you take. I'm starting here. I need to go take this step, take the next step, and maybe the third turning to arrive at my destination. So I'm going to focus now on where the learner is going. I've spoken a bit about it. So I'll go quickly through this. So as teachers, we need to know, we need to share our learning intentions with our learners. Don't keep it as a secret. Don't keep it to yourself alone. And that's the learning objective. That's the goal of their learning. Why are they learning what they're learning? Why are you teaching them what they're learning? How will learners know they have understood the objectives for the day's task? What will they need to show for you to know that, oh, wow, now they understand this objective. Now I can tick it off. That is basically your success criteria, which I refer to as WILF, what I'm looking for. And it's also known as the learning outcomes, what you want to see at the end of the day. If my children can do 1, 2, 3, 4, then they have achieved the day's objectives. So there are measurable steps that learners will take to arrive at or achieve the day's objectives. And everyone involved in the process, teachers, learners, should understand clearly what it looks like. Now, this is it. We should be careful as teachers not to use ambiguous terminologies or high-sounding words that will confuse the learners in the objective. Make it simple and straight to the point. Another key thing you should do is try as much as possible not to have too many objectives. Please, 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 teachers. Sometimes we have our lesson plans for objectives. To what end? Don't forget that when you teach, you're supposed to teach the object. You're teaching to the objectives. It's the objectives you're going to be breaking down to the children. You're going to get them to understand. Now, if you have 5 objectives, how much time do you have? How much time do you have to go through each of those objectives for children to have understood thoroughly, for them to have a deep knowledge of whatever it is, for them to engage well with whatever it is you're introducing to them? And so as much as possible, keep it short. 1 or 2 objectives, okay. Looking at the timing, especially that many of us have, whether it's primary school, nursery school, or the secondary school. All right, so I've got what I've done here is put some examples very quickly of learning objectives and success criteria. So imagine we're looking at parts of a functions. So that's what we want our learners to do at the end of the day. Remember I said try to keep it simple, keep it few as well. Now the success criteria. What are those steps that I would like to, that your children will need to demonstrate to show that they have achieved the day's objective, to show that they have understood the objective, to show that they can work with the objective, they can apply it in different situations? What are those steps they need to take? So by the end of the lesson, people will be able to name correctly the 4 main parts of the plant: the root, the stem, the leaf, and the flower. They should be able to match. So this could be my success criteria. Match each part of the plant to its basic functions. So we say the roots. So it says then label a diagram of a plant with at least 3 out of 4 parts accurately. Now, when we introduce the objective, we'll also let the learners know that once they can do these things here, these things listed under the success criteria, then we will know that they have achieved, they have understood the day's objective, they can run with it. I have another one very quickly. I've just done a few, so I'll just go through this very quickly. So to compare and order fractions, different denominators. So success criteria, they should know how to find the common denominator. They should be able to find the LCM of the denominators. They should be able to rewrite fractions with equivalence values, and they should be able to arrange fractions from smallest to largest. Now, once they can do this, then you can say that they have understood or achieved the day's objective. What about the next one I have here? To create a storyboard or mini book that illustrates and narrates the butterfly life cycle using accurate vocabulary and sequencing. So the criteria here, I can include all 4 stages of the butterfly's life cycle in the correct order. I can use labels and drawings to show what happens at each stage. I can write a short sentence or caption for each stage, or I can use vocabulary. For example, caterpillar, chrysalis, adult butterfly in my work. Thank you. All right, so someone says network is breaking. Sorry, can you still hear me there, please? Everybody hear me clearly? Just put in the chat, but just put yes, please.
Can
you can hear me
you,
clearly.
Mr. Penyo, clearly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, so the second question. So the first question was, where is the learning going? Now, before I go on to the second question, very quickly, in 2 minutes or 1 minute, can we please type in the chat room what the focus is in that area? Where is the learning going? I said we have to clarify certain things. In answering the question, where is learning going? There are 2 things we need to clarify. Can we please put that in the chat room very quickly? What are the 2 things we need to focus on? We need to share with our learners. Where is the learning going? Can I check the chat room? We're here. Do you want to log out and log in again? I hope you, yeah, I'm sure it can still take if you log in and log out again. So someone says, thank you very much for hammering on why, hammering on why your objectives need to be brief. Some leaders have this fixed mindset that you must have as many objectives as possible, which to me most times results in cognitive overload. Please, Miss, talk and shed more light on chunking. Very true. Now, regarding that, you know that sometimes you can actually merge some of these objectives. We just want to write and write and write. The word "and" can actually link 2 of those and make it just one objective. Maybe you want to define and identify. You also define the first one, next one, identify. Thank you very much. Someone has said, share the learning objectives and the learning and the success criteria. Beautiful. Thank you very much, everyone. Learners should be able to apply their lessons in daily living. I don't quite understand that. Learning is going to the, now where is the learner going? I guess that's what you want to say. Where is the learner going? Where is the learner needs to know Where is this taking me to? Why are we teaching this? It must not be ambiguous. Very true. Thank you so much. Clarify your objectives. Don't make it ambiguous. Go straight to the point. Let the learners know. And then another thing you should always do with those objectives, make sure you keep referring to them in the course of teaching and learning. We can't have objectives when we're teaching. We're going around and asking other questions not related to the objective. So we're just wasting our time. And that's one thing that could happen when we say we have taught and they did not understand. Because that shows that you probably moved off, you veered off what you were of the objectives and went into something else. Maybe still responding to someone's question or someone's or a statement that someone made in the class. So the next question I have here, and thank you so much, everybody. Well done. I hope those online are also those on YouTube. Sorry, are also participating. You can write it down on your sheet of paper. Sorry, I can't go in there to check. So the second question is, where is the learner now? Now this is so key. Where is the learner now? So yeah, we know the first question. We've clarified the learning intentions. Where's the learner going? The second, where is the learner now? And this question is all about finding out. Please note, it's about finding out what the pupils already know. What can they do? And most especially, what are they struggling with? So you want to find out at this point, what do they know? What can they do? And what are they struggling with? And that will only come from you moving around the classroom, observing, and also using other means to find out where they are at in the learning. And we'll come across what this means as we go along, like using your whiteboards to get quick answers, your hinge questions. We'll talk about all these ones later on. But there's so many techniques you can use to find out where your learners are now in the course. It could be short quizzes as well that you use. I want to find out how close are they where they're going, or how far are they from reaching the learning intentions. And the truth is this: if you don't know where your learners are in their learning, you can't provide adequately or effectively to help them move forward. So it's so key that we know this. It's a very important question we have to keep asking throughout the teaching and learning process. So you want to diagnose the gaps. You want to identify misconceptions. You want to check for knowledge. You want to inform. You want feedback that would inform your next steps. So you keep checking to obtain insights of what learners can do, challenges they may be facing. And when you get all of this, what do? You adjust your teaching to meet the identified needs, the need that learner had at that point that you've noticed. The gap you noticed. Adjust the teaching to meet. Now, it may not be for everybody. So don't get me wrong. One child doesn't understand it, so you stop the class. No. Majority to that child, you go to that, you give a one-on-one quickly to guide that child. But it's obvious the others know. And that quick way that could help. You could get the rest of them understand. You could give them a task that would keep them engaged while you quickly explain to that child who is struggling with a particular concept. So honestly, it's just like a GPS. You can't navigate properly. That's the global positioning system, the GPS we all use, most of us use when we're trying to find our way to different locations. You can't navigate properly without knowing your current location. You can't move your children's learning forward if you do not know where they are at different points of time in the learning. So how does the teacher find out? How do you now as a teacher find out where the learners are now? Observation. I've said that over and over again. You've got to be observant. You've got to move around. You've got to use different strategies to find out from them, to find out how well they are progressing with the learning, how well they understand. You can use quizzes. You can use work samples, prior work, and then compare to what they have done and say, oh, wow, this child has actually made progress. You can use your whiteboards. We'll talk about that later. I've got a picture of that here. Okay, so this is what a whiteboard. I have a sample of it here. This is what a whiteboard looks like. So it's a slate. Basically, it's a slate. And now, just in case you do not have the slate and you have the marker, this is what I have here. Now, this is a plain A4 paper. And all we did was laminate the paper. When you laminate this paper, you have your whiteboard, your mini whiteboard. So you don't complain that the school has not given you resources. You can just get A4 paper, laminate it, and you have your, voila, you have your whiteboard. And then you have your marker, and children can write. So very quickly, you can assess understanding, assess their learning at different points in time during the learning process, the teaching and learning process. Of course, questioning, I'll go into that in detail later on. Self and peer assessment, we're going to talk about all of that as well. So here, as a teacher, you want to get evidence from your learners. And this is so key. So questioning here, you have factual questions, straight to the point. Yes or no, it's like the lowest level of Bloom's taxonomy. It requires recall. What are the 4 stages in the life cycle of a butterfly? What is the name of the stage when the butterfly is inside the chrysalis? A chrysalis. So these are factual questions. We have open-ended questions. These do not require yes or no answers. Or true. Here we want them to think. We want them to reflect on what has been asked. We want them to think critically about it before responding. We have closed questions, they're just yes or no answers, true or false, Then we have think, pair, share. You can get your learners to think about a particular concept. Then they can share with another friend, maybe someone who's close to them. And then if you want them to share to the rest of the class, you do so. Probing questions, here again, it gets them to think critically about whatever it is that you're introducing to your learners. So there's so many. You also have student-generated questions. People can ask their own questions. What is one question you want to ask about butterflies, for instance? Can you think of something you're still wondering about the butterfly's life cycle? While in probing, like I said, probing questions that you're deepening the understanding with probing questions. You said, so sorry, you say something like, oh, you said butterflies lay eggs. Can you tell me why they do that? Or that's a good answer you just gave. Can you explain how you knew about it, or how you know about it, or what informed that answer? So it gets them to think further. So they're even thinking about their thinking. And that's metacognition we're talking about. What about differentiated questions? Now, these are targeted questions. We all know that no 2 learners are the same level when it comes to teaching and learning. And knowledge of the learner is very key at this point. As teachers, please, we all need to know our learners. We need to know those who are working above the expected level for that class. The solution is not promoting them, giving them double promotion. The solution really, because there are going to be gaps in their learning at different points. The solution is really differentiating their learning. They're working above the expected level in this particular, it could be in a topic, it could be in a subject, it could be in 2 subjects. It doesn't mean that they have understood everything for that year group. So you've got to know your learners, know those who are working above the expected level, know those who are working at the expected level for that class, know those who are working towards the expected level. So they are still below the expected level for that class. And then the knowledge of the learner, knowing your learner so well will inform the kind of questions that you ask them. So at the end of the day, know what the children are not frustrated by the learning process. And you're able to target your questions at different learners. And so can I just say here, as much as possible, can we try to introduce no hands up? Now, with no hands up, it means I'm saying, don't raise up your hands. Not to worry, I'll call on you. So what's that going to do? I'll call on someone, on anyone. What will that do for your learners? Everyone will get involved because they know you could call on them at any point in time. Sometimes there's I did something here. It's like a lollipop stick. So I can just write the names, right? Just write the names of the learner. I just write names of learners on the different lollipop stick and just have it in my class. So what I'll just do, because I could call on them at any point in time, I'll just pick one, and whoever has the name on it. So if it's Julian whose name is on this, I just call Julian. The next question is for you. But give them thinking time, please. Make sure you give them thinking time as they work. And then hinge questions, which is my next slide. So here, the questions have to have a correct answer and an incorrect answer. And how do they help? You really and truly, as teachers, we need to set more, our questions need to be challenging. Don't just make it very simple because it's the right answer or a wrong answer. You've got to have challenging questions, but this activity has got to be really quick. But remember what I said, make sure your learners have thinking time. Thinking time is key because they need to process whatever it is that you have asked. Now, every child is expected to come up with the answer to the question. Listen, I mean it. Every child should come up with the answer to the question. So you can do things like this. I have these two cards here. One says F, false, and one says true. So you share cards. You can share, every child has two cards, has these two cards, one true and one false. And then you ask the question. When you ask the question, give everybody time to think, and then together at the same time, you let them raise up their cards. If it's true, they raise a T. If it's false, they raise an F. But immediately you're able to scan their responses and to go and very quickly too. So you know where your different learners are at regarding understanding of the concept or parts of the concept. Your honor, you can use emojis. You can also use mini whiteboards. So you've asked the question, everybody writes to their board, then you say, all right, boards up, and then they raise it up. And then everybody raises up their board to face you because you're in front of the face, it faces the teacher's direction. So what you so you can also scan at a glance and see who is on track, who isn't. And that informs your next step. You can also either do a thumbs up or a thumbs down, even the sideways. I'm neither here nor there. I also have traffic lights. You can also use letters. Now, for this one of the things, I have them on the next slide, so you'll see some examples of them. You can also use traffic lights. So these are traffic. So red stands for maybe yes. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Green stands for I understand. It's up to you. You can just decide on how you want to use them. You can use letters, A, B, C, D. So if you have the questions, you have A, maybe you're using your interactive whiteboard or whatever it is, you can have, okay, you have options, and all they have to write, maybe two options, they just write B or A, and they raise up and they show it to you on their whiteboards. So you need to ensure that they all have think time, like I said earlier on, and they show their answers to you at the same time, so they're not influenced by others. So that is so key. So look at some examples of hinge questions here. What is the product of 5 and 3? So imagine a learner writes 15 on a mini whiteboard and raises it up. When he says time to read, they all raise it up. Another person writes 8. What does this tell you? Yes, the first question is the person who says 15 is correct. The person who says 8, we have been thinking in a different way. Could the person have been adding instead of multiplying? Is that the person maybe did not remember he or she was supposed to multiply and added, or didn't even understand the question, doesn't understand the terminology product, doesn't know what product means. So whatever you do, remember it's got to be quick. Give them thinking time. Have scan through the responses very quickly, and then you're able to make a quick decision about the next steps. So these are some examples. I said you can use questions, so you can write. That's someone holding a mini whiteboard there. You can even ask them to use their fingers. Maybe one shows for yes, two, maybe for B, whatever it is. You can just use different things. You have faces there. No, smiling face for no, for yes, sorry, frowning face for no. Or you can just circle A, B, C, or D, whatever it is the answer is. So these are some questioning tips that would help us. Remember, as you ask questions, these questions should be linked to the objectives. The objective is key. Remember, I said you keep going back to it, keep referring to it, and your questions should be linked to the objective. Don't take them out of the day's objectives, because that's what's going to steal, it's going to eat into your time. You're not able to complete your teach within the allotted time. So allow adequate, the tips I have here, allow adequate wait time after asking a question. Questions should be carefully planned. I've said it, targeted questions. You've got to plan your questions. What question will I ask ABC? What will I ask XYZ? Use open-ended questions. Use probing questions. Scaffold questions. We want to give them a bit of a guide just to maybe build a bit of foundation for them so they can, or give them clues that they will lead them to the answer. And it doesn't have to be for everybody. It could be for children who are working towards the expected level in the class. Encourage discussions. Let them question each other as well. Use their responses to feed back to them. Differentiation. Adapt your questions to meet the diverse needs. That is so, so important. It's so key. And then, of course, as teachers, we've got to reflect on the effectiveness of our questions How effective are the questions that we are asking our learners? All right, and that takes me now to feedback. When I talk about the different strategies I spoke about earlier on, we looked at questioning. We're now on feedback. Now, feedback is information provided to an individual. You've listened to them, you've heard them out, you know where they are at, and then you've got to feedback to them in real time. Don't give them, it's not a case, and then you feedback to them effectively as well. So it's going to an individual or a group, and it helps them to reflect on their actions, their behaviors, the performance, and the results, that they give at the end of the day. So why is it important? It clarifies your learning goals. Children know what they are learning, why it matters, and what success looks like. Because you've noticed a gap, able to redirect them, linking them again to the day's objectives, and then think, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what is expected of me. This is where I'm supposed to go. This is where I'm headed towards. This is where I've gotten it wrong. This is what I'm supposed to do to get to my objective at the end of the day. So it helps close that gap between where the learner is and where they need to be. And somebody had posted there, when teaching should lead to learning. Yes, teaching should lead to learning, but really actually assessment for learning is what connects the two, so that teaching eventually results in learning. And so this is an example. So you have labeled all the butterfly stages correctly. To improve, try adding a short sentence for each one. So that guides the learner on what he or she should do next. What about improvement? It guides improvement. Effective feedback provides specific next steps. I'm looking at you and what you're doing. Bola, what has Bola done? What does Bola need to move her learning forward? Bola's needs are different from Shewun's needs. So it enables them to reflect on their work and make the changes that are expected of them. So instead of saying, well done, how does well done help them know what to do next? So I can say you use the correct order. Now try explaining why the chrysalis stage is important. So let's look at importance of feedback still. Promotes active learning and ownership, because everybody's engaged. They take responsibility, they take ownership for their learning. And that's how they're able to improve in their understanding. Be able to understand, to assess themselves. What we did at the beginning, where's the learner going, is key. Know where they are at. Know where the learning is taking them to, know the objectives and know the success criteria. So what do you think you did well? It builds confidence in the learners as well. So you can ask questions like, you worked hard to correct your spelling. That effort helped you to write more clearly. I'll just go to, very quickly. It informs your teaching, your next steps as a teacher. It gives you insight to those who are struggling and what you have to do next. So self-assessment and peer assessment are also two key aspects of assessment for learning. With self-assessment, it comes first because you've got to know as an individual. Learners need to understand. They need to understand the objectives and the success criteria. They need to know what success looks like. They need to know where they're going to. They need to know how to show that they have understood the objective for the day before they can now correct their other classmates or redirect them or comment on the answers that others give. And that is peer assessment. When you get to assess each other, you get to question each other, you get to basically question the answers that your classmates give. And you can only do that because you have understood yourself. You have understood the success criteria. You know what success looks like. So if someone is making an error, you're able to redirect that person based on your knowledge, your concrete knowledge. So we have here questions that could help. So there are lots of questions that would help you promote reflection or build confidence or develop reasoning or think collaboratively. Lots of WY questions here. How did you come up with that answer as a teacher? You ask them, what if you could use so? What if you started at a different point? What went well and why? So those are basically questions, stems that would help build their confidence. So yeah, that's assessment for learning. Now, what I have here, the image I have here is what we can use for peer assessment. So peer assessment, you can have a rubric that shows maybe the features of a particular kind of writing. And then after the children have done that task, they can exchange their books, but they all use the rubric to look for features in their colleague's book, in their colleague's work. And they can just think, maybe I saw, maybe it's an instructional text. Oh, the topic is there, the heading is there, what you need section is there, steps to follow is there. Oh, there are diagrams. The diagrams are numbered. So all of that shows that the children understand and they know what. And what does that do? If I'm able to assess my peers, it deepens my own knowledge. It deepens my understanding of the concept further. And then when your peers also do that and they're pointing out, oh, that this, on this, it helps you as well, because you also, I'm sure as children, I'm from experience, what happens is that children don't want it to happen the second time. So they are more deliberate, they are more particular, they put more effort into ensuring that they understand the objective. So, and they know the success criteria, they know what's expected of them, so they can also self-assess and peer assess at the end of the day. And the third question is, how can the learner, that's the final question, how can the learner get to meet the learning intentions from where they are at now? After obtaining feedback, what do? You need to decide on your next steps as a teacher. What could you do, your learner do, to get them closer to meeting learning intentions? Now you have to, the evidence gathered will determine the choices that you make. You've gathered evidence. Based on the evidence, you know, okay, what next? What next? Where does it lead to? So for instance, assuming you asked children to write a narrative. So you have here, I have two things here. Write a narrative, write learning intentions, to write a clear beginning, middle, and end in a short story. Your teacher, your feedback after reading people's stories, the teacher notices that most learners are writing imaginative stories, but struggle with the use of time connectives. Time connectives that show what happened after, okay, first, then, after, later, finally. So that gives you, as a teacher, what then do? You can plan a mini lesson the next day to focus on the use of time words. Or you can even redirect them there, remind them of time words to use to link their ideas. Now, pupils' activities. So learners highlight time connectives in a model text. They revise it in their own stories, and then they're able to include at least two of it. So, but basically, you're helping them to get better in that area that they struggled with. The same thing could happen in numeracy. With the denominators, perchance during the work, teacher sees that several pupils can find equivalent fractions, but don't remember to simplify their final answer. What do? You add a note, remember to simplify, So that step to the working wall, and then you model it and model the process again. So they're able to work. Maybe you can have a quick mini plenary. Maybe in the course of working, you go around and you scan children making this mistake. You can stop and have a mini plenary quickly on the board and show them how to do this, because you've noticed that it's occurring in many places. And if it's occurring with so many children, it could just be came from you. Maybe the explanation was not so clear at the beginning, and that's why many of them are running with the mistake. I'm not saying it could be. That's why I say it could be, and it could be otherwise anyway. So basically, what I have here is just a summary of everything that we have done today. Actual assessment for learning in action, helping students meet the learning objectives. You share the learning objectives, you have the success criteria, whether it's your words, whether it's your will, you've displayed, maybe you're teaching about the plans, you have the plans there, you're eliciting evidence for them as you're teaching, as you find out where they are now, you want to get evidence from them, trying to clarify, you look out for misconceptions, you use different methods to get evidence from them. You provide feedback that will move their learning forward. You use peer assessment, you use self-assessment. Pupils able to check their work, maybe name parts of the plans, match them to their functions, label correctly. So in a group, so if a group is struggling, plan a guided activity, maybe with sorting cards or pictures, something that will help them, that will help redirect them in matching game. Now, formative assessment examples to use with any lesson. We've spoken about all of this. Questioning techniques with hand signals, think per share, 4 corners, traffic lights, maybe we understand, stand here, exit slips. So they just show it to you before they leave the class, and that lets you know before the children leave your lesson, who understood, who still had a challenge with a particular aspect of your learning. The next, they just drop the slip with you. You give them post-it notes or slip of paper, and they just write the aspects that they did not understand, or what they understood, what they enjoyed most about the lesson. And then that helps you as a teacher know what they know and what they need to work on They could put there one thing that they still want to know about it. So again, this is also a summary of what we have looked at. It has there where the learner is going, where the learner is now, how to get there. So where the learner is going is about clarifying, sharing and understanding the learning intentions. You share the learning intentions, let them know about the success criteria as well. Where the learner is now, you're getting evidence from them. You're also activating the students as learning resources for one another. That's where peer assessment comes in, and self-assessment. And then you're also using them, getting them to own their own learning, and that's peer assessment. When they get to own the learning, that's peer assessment. And when they do it for each other, that's when they own the learning, so that's self-assessment. When they do it for each other, that's peer assessment. So pair with each other and self on their own. And then, of course, how to get the learner there, provide feedback that will move their learning forward. So basically, this is cyclical. It goes on and on. You teach, you're assessing for learning. When you assess, it informs your next steps. You go back again, you assess, you teach, and it goes on, and the cycle continues. So it's a cycle. So basically, this is it. So assessment for learning is part of effect. You have to plan it. You've got to plan it effectively so it succeeds. It focuses on how your pupils learn. Yes, because you need to know your learners. Knowledge of your learners is key. And it focuses on how they learn. Where are they at? You know what it is that they need, and you know how to provide for them. It's central to classroom. It is key for us as professionals if we're teaching in the 21st century. It develops the capacity for self and peer assessment. We've spoken about that. Recognizes all educational achievements. Is a key professional skill. It helps learners know how to improve. We've spoken about all of this. Promotes understanding of goals and success criteria. It's sensitive, it's constructive. You have to be sensitive. You don't just give feedback anyhow. And when I talk about feedback, one thing you have to be very careful. Teach your learners how to give feedback to each other during peer assessment. They don't talk down on each other. They shouldn't be derogatory with their choice of words. So that's a skill we should have taught them before we then get to implement it. And even we as well as teachers should be mindful how we teach so we don't kill their spirits in the way we give them feedback on where they are at in their learning. We're supposed to motivate them. Now, the truth is this. Someone said, yes, every teaching should lead to learning, but sometimes you can have shallow learning depending on what the teaching was like. You can also have deep learning. Shallow learning is controlled by the teacher. You don't have learners engaged. But with deep learning, learners understand the learning process. Shallow learning, the teacher is one in charge. The teacher alone knows everything. The learner is compliant, just passive, listening to the teacher, doing everything, following the instructions to the letter. But with deep learning, the teacher is the facilitator, co-constructor of knowledge with the learners. You're moving them, you're guiding them, you're scaffolding for them, you're enabling them to, you're looking at where they are at and guiding them to move to the next level. With shallow learning, you just sit down there and you're assimilating everything. But with deep learning, it's active. Learners are actively involved. They question one another. They even question us as teachers. And we should please allow and encourage the learners to question us. We may not always have the right answer, but we can always let them know that we're just like, nobody knows it all. But it cannot happen every time as a teacher. That means we've got to go and research before we teach. So shallow is more of rote learning, unrelated facts, isolated themes, content quickly forgotten, because that's what you teach today, and then you come back tomorrow and they're like, didn't I teach you last week? Didn't I teach you yesterday? But with deep learning, the emphasis is on depth, not just content. Ensuring that their understanding is deep, the learning is deepened, and that's why they have all of those engagements going on and active learning happening. And that's what gets them to remember. So I'll just go now to the last thing I have here, is the benefits of assessment for learning. And these are just straightforward. It verifies learning goals. We've said that over and over again. Makes success criteria visible. Make it visible for your learners. Let everybody see what success looks like. Some people call it waggles, what a good one looks like. Let them see samples of what a good one would look like. It promotes active learning. So students are deeply, they're engaged. It encourages self-assessment. It supports differentiation. It improves their confidence because they know that when they get, you've been able to reach out to them based on where they are. The feedback you give them helps them make that improvement, and they're able to move in their learning and to make the progress that we all want to see. It reduces anxiety around tests. Learning becomes a process, not a judgment. It reduces fear of failure. It promotes immediate feedback. Pupils get to know how they're doing during the learning, not at the end of it alone. And it helps. And can I just say something regarding that? Sometimes with summative assessment, because I just want to mention this here, if you've done a test and that's summative assessment, it can be used formatively if you give feedback to the learners that will guide them and help them to improve on what they did. So sometimes summative assessments can be used or can also be used formatively. It helps identify misconceptions early so children don't run with their error until it's too late. It encourages pair learning, group work goes on, and it builds metacognitive skills because they're able to think about their, and it improves improves teacher planning because you're able to plan, promotes your setting of goals. A set of these improves engagement, informs parents and caregivers. Yes, so it gives clearer, you're able to tell the parents very well because you know the learners so well. You can speak intelligently and the provision you've put in place to move their learning forward. And that is what at school. Because you don't sideline anybody, you know everybody. You're there for everyone. Encourages reflective learning. Sorry, let me just go quickly. Encourages reflective learning and teaching practices. It fosters a growth mindset, enhances classroom dialogue, and leads to improved achievements. So it's key for us. So there's so many benefits of assessment for learning. And that is where I'm going to call it a day. I know I've been told I've used up my time, but I'm sure I can take a few questions, maybe 1 or 2 questions before we move on. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Can I have some questions? Do I have any questions? Okay, in the chat room. Ayo Ajibala has raised a hand. Ayo Ajibala, please, you want to unmute and ask your question?
I think she can put it in the chat box. It's muted,
Thank
so
you.
we can
Okay,
have
that's
a
fine. I'll look there.
coordinated meeting.
Okay, that's fine. So let me just look. Let me go to the chat.
Yeah, so there's one here, it says, please, I have a question in a secondary school class, and I find out that they are a group of people that are not interested in learning, no matter the effort to get feedback from them. Sorry, no matter the effort to get feedback from them will always not be given a good result. What will the teachers do? I think she's trying to say they don't get a good result from their feedback.
Okay,
what do the teachers do?
Yes, thank you very much. So she's saying you don't get a good result for the first. You said there are learners that will not give. Sorry, can you just say the first part you said again? I'm sure. After we have done it assessment, I still have a child. Okay, I guess I think what you said was that you have some learners who will not give you what you're expecting at the end of the day when you ask for feedback, or they will not even contribute when you ask for feedback. Now, you know, I spoke about knowledge of the learners. They may not do that. What is it? What do you know about them? There must be things that your learners like. Can you use this to bring them in? Can you maybe even have a pep talk with them at the beginning? What is exactly is going on in their minds? Could they be reacting to something? Can you use what they know to get? So for instance, I remember someone who spoke about how he taught children, he was trying to teach them angles. He was trying to teach them angles, and this child, some children just didn't understand. So eventually, and they wouldn't give him the answer that he was expecting from them. So eventually took them to the football pitch. And I'm talking about using terminologies on football, on the corner. And angles. Maybe it could also mean that we also have to adjust our teaching methods. Maybe even speak to colleagues. Maybe even speak to colleagues about it. But like I said, knowledge of the learner is key. There must be something that they like. Can we use that to draw out from them what we want?
Okay, thank you, Ma. Another person says, please, can we use AFL to do our lesson plans?
Can you use, it says,
AFL
can
to
you
do
use
our lesson
AFL?
plans?
All right, so this is it. In doing that is where planning. I said it involves planning. You've got to plan for AFL before your lesson plan. You've got to plan for it. How do you plan? You've got to know, don't forget it involves, look at those strategies I spoke about, those 5 strategies. You need to know what's your objective, what's your success criteria, what are the questions you're going to use. Now, the knowledge of your learner is going to help you with this, because now you know your learners. It's going to be ideally what teachers should do is have questions, have differentiated questions on their learning plan somewhere there at the different steps that you will ask different learners. And that's why I said, as much as possible, try to reduce, move away from, or try to introduce no hands up, because you've got targeted questions you want to ask just to ensure that they are following you and that they are making that progress you want to see in their learning. So yes, please, you have to plan. AFL informs it has to be part of your planning. You need to plan how you're going to use AFL during your teaching and learning process. It is key, because if you don't plan it, then hey, it's not going to happen. Thank you. Another question, please?
Okay. Sunday says, at what point does AFL start? Before the class or during the class? Sometimes they come into the class with a wide gap in their knowledge. So it's trying to know when does AFL
very
start.
true. That's
before.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said, there was a slide I spoke when I said assessment can happen before, and that's diagnostic, and it helps you know what the learners know. So you're not teaching them what they already know. And even through it, you get to know, okay, maybe the foundation they need to build on for that learning. So for instance, I was talking about fractions, ordering fractions. If children are struggling with multiplication tables, then that's a bit of a problem for you. So you've got to work on that. You've got to strengthen their knowledge of that so they can work with the new concept you want to introduce to them. And then it goes on throughout the teaching and learning process. So where you have that connect, I could use I don't know what some schools call it, but some people have the starter, they have previous knowledge. You can ask questions there as well to know what they know already. And that helps you. And of course, like I said, you continue that way. I hope that answers that person's question.
Yeah. So maybe we'll just take this last one. Says, how will an educator assess an unwilling student who is not interested in learning in all subjects, is only interested in sports?
Okay, that's interesting. He's only interested in sports. Can you tie the sports to the learning? So can you make it, okay, wow, but make sure you acknowledge that student in the classroom. Make a big deal of it, because school life is not just about maths and English, about the cognitive. Even the non-cognitive areas matter as well. So that child is doing very well. Acknowledge that child in the classroom. Let the child also know that you're proud of him or her doing so well, thriving in that particular area of sports. And then also see how you're going to, you know what, you also need to do this. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you more time to go for sports if you do achieve so. So you're linking it to sports. You're linking it to the academics. So we need to work on this just so you can go for that particular activity that you need to go for. Because the child can't come to school and have his or her own way. Teaching and learning will have to go. As I said, knowledge of the learner is key. So you may want to connect it to learning, as in, okay, based on, now I know you're very good in this, I want to see you thrive in it. In fact, I'm creating more openings or creating platforms for you to shine, but this is what I want you to do. Okay, you need to be able to do a bit of this here and a bit of that there. All right, and once you can achieve ABC, you know what, you're free to go. And I'm going to give you certain periods, maybe during the week, to have, maybe during break time, maybe after school, whatever it is, but just kind of link it with the learning. I mean, it's just like people that get scholarships abroad, based on sports, usually because they're very good in sports. They've gotten the scholarship to study, but because they're good in sports. But if they sometimes it's tied to the grades. For you to get that college, sometimes it's tied to the grades. And some schools I know even do it here. If you're doing well in sports and you're not doing well in your grades, then they're probably going to pull you out of sports for a bit, so you can come up a bit with your grades and then you resume the sports.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. Just the final one, because Mr. Ayo was the one we asked to put. It says, when you ask a question and you get no response, how do you, and you tell them to ask from you, they don't, how would you get feedback? Basically saying, how do you get feedback when you ask a question with no response?
This is an interesting question. Can I say this? So many things could be responsible. I said you've got to make your classroom an enabling environment. You've got to ensure that children don't feel threatened. Children are not afraid to speak their minds. Children will not be ridiculed for saying for giving the wrong answer. You've got to make that has got to be settled. Let them all see that they're all there to learn, and that it's a supportive environment. And that when they are wrong, you're going to redirect them. It's not the end of the day or the end of the world for them. And no one is going to use it to tease them after the class. So let children know about that, because sometimes that could just be it. And children don't want to feel, they will start laughing at me. They will say. And another thing you could do, can you also put them in groups? Maybe get them to work in groups, because sometimes if a child is afraid to speak up or to speak alone, having a pair, to a body to work with, or putting them in groups helps them. They're able to manage, that fear. They're able to, because they're not the only ones. You could have 3 of them in a group and working on whatever it is question. So you could encourage lots of group work. So children work together in groups to provide the answer. And then you celebrate the groups for trying, for working together. And then you redirect them where you have to redirect them. I hope that helps that person.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ma. I know I've been saying the last one, but this is just from YouTube, from people joining.
Okay, that's
YouTube. Fine. Actually, 2 questions, and so we are done. Juliana says, what can the teacher do when some students do not do their homework or assignments? I don't know if that's related here. And the second one is, what's the difference between summative and formative assessments?
Beautiful question. So that one is, what should the teacher do when the children do not know their homework? I don't know why that was last year, but they're not doing their homework. You've got to find out, to the home as well, communicate with the parents, find out what could be happening. I mean, the truth is, many things could be going wrong. I heard of a case once where a child's parents were ministers, so the child would leave. In fact, 2 cases, another one whose mom owned a shop. And after school, they would go straight to mommy's shop and they would stay there till night, and so it affected their ability to do their homework. So sometimes it's not just call the parents, have a chat with them and see how together you can work in supporting that child and ensuring the child does the needful. And then summative assessment. Now, summative assessment it happens at the end of a module, at the end of a class, at the end of a term, at the end of a unit, at the end of a session. It's also like your IGCSEs, your Cambridge Primary Checkpoint, your WAEC exams, your end of term exams, end of session exams. It comes at the end of the teaching learning process. Now, the purpose there is to grade, to grade the learner. It's almost like forming judgment on the learner. So they use it for, you also, there's a word that has escaped my mind now. Basically, to track their learning. So you track, okay, who has gotten achieved this much in whatever it was I was taught this term. You're able to track their progress in their learning. Now, at the end of the term. Now, formative assessment, on the other hand, does not happen at the end of the lesson. It's ongoing throughout the period of process of teaching and learning. You're asking questions to find out, to check if learning is taking place, to check where the learners are at, to know how to give them feedback that will move their learning forward, to ensure they understand what is being introduced to them. And the purpose of this is for them to make progress in their learning. You want to see them move, you want to move their learning forward. And it can take different forms, like we spoke about earlier on. Thank you very much. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, I believe it does, Ma. I'll just pass on to Mrs. Okewo.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your time.
Mrs. Okewo. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Ekpenyong, for that. It was absolutely wonderful. We appreciate you. Thank you. You can put, You can put your thanks in the chat box. You can put it in the chat box, and let's see how it goes. All right, Mrs. Okewo, it's on now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I apologize for that. I was unable to unmute. Can you hear me, Mr. Bayomi?
Yes, I can.
All right. I want to believe everyone can hear me, but if you cannot, I would appreciate you put it in the chat box. Ms. Ekmayong.
Yes, Miss Okewo.
Thank you so much.
Morning.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me clapping? Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
That
God.
was excellent. We'll just like to see the emojis going on in the chat room to show appreciation for what Ms. Ekpeyong has done today. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm looking at the chat room expecting to see the emojis. Thank you, Adetutu. Thank you so much. Let's have more of that coming in. Thank you, Ms. Ekpeyong. We really appreciate this session. It was awesome. It was wholesome. I'm going to start by giving appreciation to our Executive Director, Dr. Kehinde Wani, who is also the MD CEO of Meadowhall. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Wani for her unwavering passion for teacher development. This has made it possible for us to have TTN, opportunity to access Nigerian teachers, give them excellent training, continuous professional development so that we keep doing well. Dr. Wani's commitment to excellence and her belief in the potential of every teacher has created this platform to be able to access and give excellent training, just like what you experienced today. Thank you to Dr. Wani. Thank you, Ms. Ekmayong. So now this is TTN.
You're welcome.
So I want to ask. Thank you, Mr. Kwe. I want to ask to all the new participants, what are you waiting for? You have to be a part of our community. You must be able to learn. And the thing about TTN is that we are a community of learners. So as I'm talking, I'm going to ask Mr. Bayomi to please put the link for you to join our WhatsApp group. Once you're a part of the WhatsApp group, you get information about training, to get information about other activities that we have for teachers. Mr. Bayomi, can you confirm if the link is there?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I can see the link. I can see the link. Please, I would like you to start clicking in and be a part of our community. If you want to have access to information regarding TTN, if you want to know about free trainings coming up, please click and it's free to be a part of this community. It's free to be a part of our learning community. So I want to believe you're all clicking on now to register. Please be a part of it. Be a part of our WhatsApp group. Be a part of our Telegram channel. You will have access to information. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. If you are part of Meadowhall, you get access to this community, a community where like minds are. We talk about the same thing. We talk about different ways of achieving excellent results. We share good, excellent experiences. We share the things we do in our classroom. We share the things, the way we do that, to do them to ensure that people learn from us. So please be a part of the TTN community. Now, today's training is totally free. Imagine sharing this information with other teachers that are not in Lagos State, that are outside Lagos, outside the country. Often we also have teachers joining us from outside the country. Send our links to them, ask them to be a part of this community. Copy the WhatsApp group link and send to them to connect to be a part of this community. It's free. However, we have a training coming up at the end of this month, I think on the 28th. And that training is going to be a continuation of what we had today. Now we're going to have, it's a workshop. So you've had the AFL training webinar. We're going to have a workshop. It's going to be online, but what are we going to be doing on that day? We're going to be looking at the practical sessions. All these questions you asked, imagine experiencing them in class, doing them yourself with the support of a facilitator, nudging you towards the right direction. You asking questions. As you make mistakes, you're being supported to be redirected to
it the right way. So imagine having that opportunity. You know, when you learn, that's one part of it. Putting it into practice is another part of it. And that's what we're going to be doing on the 28th of June when we have our workshop on assessment for learning. However, the training for the 28th of June is going to be for paid subscribers only. So please join the WhatsApp group. When you get on the WhatsApp group, if you want to be a paid subscriber, you will get all the information you require to be a part of the paid subscriber. And when you do make your payment, you will be moved to a different WhatsApp group where you get additional information for those that are paid members. If you're a paid member, being in this training today also means you're going to get a certificate of participation to show that, yes, you were present here and you were a part of everything that we did. I want you to please endeavor to be a part of this community. You can't afford to miss it. I also want to mention that our monthly lifestyle webinar, we're going to have one in the month of July, particularly on the 26th, and we'll be looking at etiquette and social grooming. That will be handled by Dr. Kehinde Wani herself. You don't want to miss that. Would like to share the links with you so that you be a part of this training. It's going to be free. You have access to the training free of charge, but for those that are subscribers, they'll get certificate of participation. And then we have our quarterly training coming up again. Guess what the topic is going to be? Quality first teaching. That's going to be handled by Mr. Ofeswa, who is the Director of Studies for the college in Meadowhall College. So please do not miss being a part of the of the TTN community. You want to ensure that you don't miss any opportunity for information regarding the trainings that we have. You don't want to miss an opportunity to share thoughts with like minds. You don't want to miss an opportunity to have access to all the resources that we intend to share or we're already sharing with teachers. We have a repository where teachers can access resources, all our training PDF videos. We have them in a repository. If you're a paid member, you get access to that repository. Train yourself and get access to the things you'd require to support your teaching. Mr. Bayomi, I don't know if we have our Instagram link. We'd like them to be a part of our Instagram link, Instagram handle. Please, if you drop the Instagram link, that would be helpful. I'm on there right now. I'm just going to see how many of us are going to subscribe to be a part of our Instagram handle. Yes, please go to our social media handle. We are quite active. Would like to see that you are part of this vibrant community. Yes, right now I can see that we're 783. I'm hoping that as you're registering, the numbers will be going up. We also have a TikTok handle. We have a LinkedIn page. You do not want to miss being a part of our social media handles. Please go on, subscribe so that you don't miss information. The numbers aren't moving, Mr. Bayomi. I don't know if it's my device, but the numbers aren't moving here.
Let me also confirm from mine.
I can see 783. That was what I saw when we logged in. Is it moving?
Yes, it is.
Oh, fantastic.
I think that's just one person that's joined.
No, that's not good enough. Please connect to our social media handles.
So 790 now,
wow,
that's 2 people.
Yeah. Please, can you join our social media handle? We are quite active. We'd like you to be a part of us. We're on TikTok, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube. We don't want to miss our YouTube page. Please subscribe, connect with our videos, and also subscribe. At this point, I also want to remind you that we have a feedback form. The link has been posted. Please do us help us fill the feedback form so that we know how you enjoyed today's session. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And, whatever your feedback is so that we'll know how to move forward with it. Thank you so much. And once again, we say thank you to our Executive Director, Dr. Kehinde Wani, for making this possible. And again, I say thank you, Ms. Ekpeyong. I also want to acknowledge that we have our head of school logged in from the beginning of the session. Good morning, Ms. Obafisoye.
Good morning, Mr. Bafisoye. Thank you, Mr. Kiowo.
Well done, Mr. Ekpeyong. We enjoyed it. Mr. Bayomi, thank you so much. Mr. Samuel, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Just before we round up, just show of hands, Igbobi College, if you're here, could you just put in the chat box, Igbobi College, Queen's College, if you're here, Meadowhall, LPSS, if you are here, just put yeah, okay, of course, I see you guys. Okay, I see just one person. Okay, Gobi College, Meadow Hall, that's good. Anybody from LPSS, up I see up with Bobby College. Anybody from Queen's College? Anybody from Silvercrest? Anybody from Early Springs? Sunstone School? Yeah, I see everybody who joined from everywhere around the nation and even out of the country. We really want to appreciate you guys. Thank you so much once again for joining, and hopefully we'll see you soon. I know some people have asked to make payments to get to get the certificates. Unfortunately, that will not be possible. Certificates are only available to paid subscribers. So only paid subscribers for this. Well, the certificates you would get, which is for everybody, would be from the conference, but for every other training of ours, it's only for paid subscribers. So thank you so much. Thank you
Mr.
so much.
Bayomi, I think the head
Yes,
of
ma'am.
school is connected. I remember I called on her the other time. I think I can see she's active.
Who is that, ma'am?
Good morning, Mr. Bafisoye.
Oh, okay.
Having network issues. Okay. Good morning, Mrs. Obafisoye. Okay, maybe you should continue.
Maybe she can't. I can just add her up. Okay.
Okay.
Make a co-host. Okay, yes. Please go ahead, ma.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Well done, Ms. Ekpeyong. I'm so
Morning,
grateful. I'm so grateful for this session. A lot of learnings, a lot of 21st century compliance strategies. Thank you so very much, Mr. Bayomi. Thank you, Mr. Okewo. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bafisoye.
Thank you so much. So we've taken a bit of your time. Thank you. Have a great week and enjoyed the rest of the weekend. God bless you all. Thank you and bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mrs. Okewo. Thank you, Ms. Ekpeyong. Bye.
Thank you, Miss. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Ms. Ekpeyong.